Hello and good afternoon. I'm David Petreco from the Nautical Institute's headquarters here in London. I'm joined here today by a team from the IALA Worldwide Academy. We have Omar, Geraldine, and Kevin. Good afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
They are respectively from Denmark, the Netherlands, and the UK. So we're all in this corner of the world at the moment. Right. Well, thank you for joining and for your interest. I hope that you're familiar with the Nautical Institute, but if you're not, just very quickly, we are an international professional body. That's a membership organization, so I'll be a little bit shameless and say, please join. Our prime role is to help our members with professional development, and we also represent them. We have a seat at the IMO, but we also have an extremely good relationship with IALA. And currently, our president, Julian Carlson-Jackson, is chairing some of their sessions. We share information and on best practice. And the reason we do this is that we think that professional development and sharing of information and developing best practice helps people make better decisions. And that's what we try to do. Those better decisions may be about safety, it may be about commercial operations, it may be even about your career options. But the discussion that we'll have here today about aids to navigation hopefully will educate you and let you make better decisions with navigation safety. So good luck with that. Just a few rules on how to participate. Your mics and cameras do not work, but you can type a question in the question box. Just remember to press the send button afterwards. After the event, you will, there's a little short quiz, not a quiz, a survey, and if you could take that, it'll help us improve our operations in the future. A few hours after the event, you will get a thank you for attending email. In that email is a link to a personalized certificate. So please do just be a little bit patient. It may take up to 2 to 3 hours for that email to come through. This is being recorded, and we will post the recording on our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, search Nautical Institute, and hopefully it'll be there by tomorrow. And you are not alone. There are nearly 700 people now registered. And so when you're writing in your questions, if you could be as succinct as possible, it'll certainly help me get through them. So the IALA is the International Association of Marine Aids to Navigation and Lighthouse Authorities. Have I got that right, Omar?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, Omar, I would like to, you are the Secretary General Deputy or Deputy Secretary General and the Dean of the Academy. So I would like to hand over and you can introduce yourself and your team. Thank you very much, Omar.
Okay, thank you very much, David. And very good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone in different time zones. It's impressive to have 700 registrations for an event like this. We are very proud of being so attractive. So my name is Omar Fritz Eriksson, and I am the Dean of the IALA Worldwide Academy, as well as the Deputy Secretary General of IALA. The Academy was inaugurated in 2012, and we deal with education, training, and capacity building in the safety of navigation domain. We are fully funded by sponsorship or sponsors. We do not receive any money from the mother organization IALA as such, or its members basically. And we thank all our sponsors who may be listening, such as IFAN, the International Foundation for Aids to Navigation, our biggest sponsor. The governments of Malaysia, South Korea, and Singapore, which are major sponsors as well, and the government of France and the United Kingdom, who also contribute quite a lot. With me today, I have the rest of the full-time Academy staff, actually. We are only 3. The first one is Geraldine Delanoy, Program and Resource Manager of the Academy. And then we have Kevin Gregory, who is the Education and Development Manager, who will be making the presentation. So I think I'll hand it over to you, Kevin. Let's hear what you have to say.
Well, thanks very much, Omar. And in true technical style, I think I may have a problem with sharing my screen.
We can see your presentation.
Can you see? Okay, let me see if I can. Here we go. We're online. Perfect. Well, a very good afternoon to you all from the UK here, and to everyone around the world. So I'll spend a few minutes giving an overview of the whole work of IALA, and then we'll have a much wider discussion with Omar, Geraldine, and David to take account of all of your questions. So first of all, we can say, well, what is an aid to navigation? The definition of this is actually very wide. Aids to navigation incorporates traditional aids to navigation that we know. For instance, the iconic and global maritime buoyage system, lighthouses, and increasingly newer technologies, such as the very active aid to navigation of vessel traffic services, positioning systems, and rapidly developing e-navigation solutions. We're seeing a particular growth in the digital capability of aids to navigation as they seek to interact with what are now becoming increasingly connected ships through ECDIS, AIS, and other means. And in the future, we're mindful of autonomous shipping to the varying degrees that may be implemented. So why do we have aids to navigation? What are the international obligations? Well, the coastal states around the world have obligations under the SOLAS Convention to provide aids to navigation services. In SOLAS Chapter 5, there were 2 adjacent regulations, Regulation 12 and 13, dealing with VTS and aids to navigation respectively. Now, they oblige coastal states to provide such services of aids to navigation commensurate and appropriate to the volume of traffic and the degree of risk in their waters. And that's a fundamental, it's a risk-based provision based on the volume of traffic and the degree of risk. So these are significant obligations for coastal states to provide effective and appropriate systems of aids to navigation in their waters. So hopefully the slides are ticking over quite nicely here. Looking now at where does IALA fit into all this? So we can see on the picture there a traditional AtoN, but still very fundamental to navigation safety around the world. And IALA, through our diverse membership, seeks to achieve 2 main goals for the mariner. And we're always mindful that what we're doing is to provide services for mariners and those at sea. Firstly, we want to try and ensure that aids to navigation are harmonized worldwide. Now, clearly that's vital for the mariner, that the broad types of service provided around the world are consistent, familiar, easy to interpret and understand. Also, harmonization is increasingly important as we embrace new digital technologies which better connect ships. And it's good to see the increasing international harmonization of these initiatives around the world, predominantly related to e-navigation implementation. Then we've got the second goal, and that's really important, as there are still many countries that are relatively early stage in their aids to navigation implementation to international standards. And this is where the IALA family, predominantly through the Worldwide Academy, comes in to facilitate the exchange of knowledge and expertise to achieve a sustainably increasing standard globally. So considering harmonization some more, we publish a range of useful documents across 7 distinct areas of work, as represented at the bottom here of this slide. And the documents that we produce are designed to support both goals of IALA's strategy and provide very useful and practical direction, advice, guidance, and best practices in the implementation and operation of aids to navigation. And through their implementation, coastal states can therefore work to fulfill their SOLAS obligations. And to a wider audience, such as mariners, the use of these guidelines can really help enhance your own awareness of the capabilities of the various types of marine aids to navigation, and hopefully thereby increasing their utility to mariners and enhancing safety of navigation around the world. So how do we go about the work? Now, the IALA publications we just considered, they're not created by us as a secretariat, although we're pleased to be involved in their creation, but they're created by an expert team of technical committees drawn from our broad membership. And each committee is made up of IALA members, they're our national members, such as lighthouse authorities and navigation safety authorities, our very interactive industrial members, associate members, and sister organisations such as the Nautical Institute. And as David said, we're pleased to have the president of the Nautical Institute serving as a chair of 2 of our working groups within the e-navigation committee and the Vessel Traffic Service Committee. So the use of the IALA family in this way to prepare our documents hopefully results in good quality documents, but those prepared by real life and current practitioners with global experience. And the committees often have around 100 or more participants, and they meet twice a year. IALA is governed by an elected council of national members that oversee our affairs for a 4-year term coinciding with each General Assembly. So looking now at some of the work that's actually going on. So these next few slides are based around our 7 standards, and you can see in the top left hand corner there the infographics which refer to them. So considering first aid to navigation, planning and delivery, this is probably one of the more traditional areas of our work, it's fair to say. However, it's not been standing still, far from it. We've been keeping up to date with current technological and industry developments. The maritime buoyage system is probably one of the most famous elements of IALA, but it's also accompanied by new developments such as mobile marine aids to navigation and virtual aid to navigation. And as we speak, the IALA Aids to Navigation and Requirements Committee are considering updates to the marine buoyage system and also actively looking at the virtual aids to navigation policies. We also have risk management tools, and we can see an extract of one of the risk management tools in the middle picture there. And these risk management tools are hugely successful, being global in nature, and they're used not only to help coastal states fulfill their SOLAS obligations, but increasingly we see them being used elsewhere, for instance at the IMO, to contribute to the assessment and establishment of routing systems through providing the fact and evidence base needed to achieve consensus on their implementation. We also have an eye on the past. We operate the Heritage Lighthouse of the Year competition, and we can see last year's winner in France there on the right hand side. But we also provide guidance on how we can conserve the heritage of lighthouse operations. And as a case in point, a recent project in Somalia, a country that we've been working hard with through the Worldwide Academy. Now, in conjunction with the Somali Competent Authority for Aid to Navigation, who we've supported with training and education, a restoration program was implemented for the very historic Fort Sheikh Lighthouse in Mogadishu. IALA guidance on heritage was followed, and the light returned to active service following years of disruption caused by the unstable situation within the country. a new LED light source was installed, configured to take account of its city centre location to ensure the conspicuity of the light against the background lighting, and also the light's fully solar powered to ensure continuity of service and security on the site. And the project was completed in conjunction with an IALA industrial member. But a really important development in Mogadishu for safety of navigation as the country returns to trade and full operations following its sad history, but a very positive trajectory. So we're just going to give a taster on VTS today. We're hoping that there will be a future webinar looking at this in more depth, but arguably one of the most rapidly advancing aids to navigation around the world is VTS. And I won't dwell here too long. However, VTS is a very active aid to navigation and can be very effective at contributing to the safety and efficiency of navigation. It uses a blend of technology and procedures combined with trained VTS professionals to provide high quality services. Now, this is an aid to navigation that relies very heavily on human expertise, a very active aid to navigation. And IALA has been instrumental in developing and implementing the global training and certification standards for this sector. So what about VTS these days? A lot of development has taken place with respect to VTS, particularly IALA, in conjunction with the VTS committee and all of our members, including the Nautical Institute. We've been instrumental in updating the IMO guidelines for VTS, which we hope will be finalised next year. But our main principle in VTS development is the core needs of the user, particularly what does a user expect from VTS? So to be provided with essential and timely information to get so they can get to where they need to go as quickly and as efficiently as possible. For the movements within a VTS area to be organised to avoid conflict, and that safety is monitored and that a VTS can step in if a dangerous situation is developing. So the people are critical, and properly trained aids to navigation professionals are essential. I'll return to this topic later on in some more detail, but IALA provides global training in VTS, aids to navigation management, risk management, and technical and engineering services through a global network of accredited training organizations. In addition to the facilitation of safety of navigation, the training also is unique in that it fosters truly international collaboration and long-lasting friendships amongst those who we have the privilege to interact with. So a really exciting area of work surrounds the current developments in e-navigation and digitization. E-navigation is coming to life around the world now, and IALA has been key in both the operational requirements for this through our aids to navigation requirements and management and VTS committees, and the technical requirements through our engineering and e-navigation committees. A large focus has been placed on establishing reliable and resilient communication technologies between ship and shore that can sustain digitization and the provision of wider services that will greatly assist the work of the navigator. And we're also very mindful of the vulnerability and reliance that we place on GNSS. A key area is examining and implementing mitigation measures over several domains, including in space, on the ground, through utilizing existing radio infrastructure for new possibilities such as R mode. Again, harmonization is key here for interoperability, and global harmonization and IALA, in conjunction with our sister organizations, the IHO and IMO, are working on data models to achieve this. And the work also paves the way for increasing levels of autonomy on board. Creating a connected aid to navigation environment is essential to pave the way for all types of navigation in the future. So we've been through a lot there of our work, and you may wish to know some more. All of the documents are freely available from the IALA website, and if you're newer to the IALA domain, a very useful consolidated document is the IALA Nav Guide, completely free of charge, a book which covers all areas of IALA's work, with references to the wider IALA suite of documents. And we also have a handy document catalogue on our website to enable you to navigate around the various standards and documents that we have. So looking at the Worldwide Academy, what do we do? We're a division within IALA, focusing on education and training, capacity building, and research and development. And as Omar said, we are generously funded by a range of sponsors, and our broad mission is to enlighten, educate, and engage with all those that we interact with to help coastal states and interested parties meet their SOLAS obligations and successfully implement the IALA standards through enlightening, educating, and engaging. It's a very rewarding area of work to be in. So how do we assist the coastal states? And we're very active on a global basis. Even through these challenging times of COVID-19, we've maintained our interactions with many states around the world, and we're privileged to be able to help states that are in need of assistance. And we also rely on our partner countries and sister organisations with established expertise to help us. We've assessed and categorised all coastal states around the world and have some good success stories. The countries are assessed based on the volume of traffic and the degree of risk versus the maturity of their maritime management in the country concerned. And we conduct a wide range of technical missions in countries in need of our assistance and focus on equipping them with the knowledge and skills to be able to implement over time effective and efficient aids to navigation services. So from the map on the right, it can be seen that the main challenge is in Africa. We're actively engaging with a number of states, and it's a very exciting and rewarding area in which to work. And our capacity building operations are led by my colleague Geraldine. So some examples of how we work in capacity building, truly worldwide and based on the principles of enlightening, educating, and engaging. We work with national authorities to identify the current status of AtoN governance and implementation within a country and seek to map their status against the IALA standards. We work in some challenging areas, but we're pleased to always be welcomed and taken care of wherever we go. Through enlightenment, education, and engagement, practical problems on the ground or on the water can easily be overcome. And we host many events worldwide on the full range of AtoN topics, and do keep an eye on our website for opportunities, and would really like to welcome you to our events in the future. So returning to education, fundamental to capacity building and improving the effectiveness of aids to navigation services is education and training. We connect people around the world and have a network of alumni qualified in VTS, aids to navigation management, and aid to navigation technical engineering. Equipping people with knowledge and skill is important, but a large amount of value is gained from connecting people together to network, engage, and solve problems together. That's a fundamental part of our operation, is bringing people together to help each other solve their problems and challenges. So looking at our training programs, we now have, in terms of aid to navigation management, over 336 qualified level 1 aid to navigation managers from some 83 countries, as diverse as the United States all the way through to Somalia and Yemen, with the number increasing year on year. Our risk management courses are also popular due to their international credibility and recognition in the IMO and elsewhere, and we run regular risk management courses and are proud to have some 352 qualified practitioners from some 76 countries, and we'll be offering this training online by distance learning in the near future. We also offer training in e-navigation and DGNSS and are expanding continuously the courses we offer, and also offer regular workshops and seminars on a variety of topics that are open to all, not just members. Good quality aids to navigation requires good quality maintenance and support, and we have a range of 30 technical model courses related to AtoN engineering to enable this critical infrastructure to be well maintained and to have high levels of availability for the mariners. These courses are offered worldwide and range in scope. Some countries, they may need advanced training on paint systems, for instance, but in other countries, they may require more basic training on the fundamentals of paint application and metal care, such as a diversity in skill level around the world. So the IALA V103 certification series for VTS personnel has been hugely successful, with thousands of certified professionals around the world. A challenge here is helping those starting out on their VTS journey implement VTS, which is a very complex task, taking into account the role of VTS as an active AtoN, for which the human, the VTS professional, is totally pivotal in its success. So how do we deliver our training? It's available around the world through a network of accredited training organizations. And the Academy, we also deliver training directly via means of distance learning and face-to-face training when we can. And career development is a real possibility with IALA qualifications. We see AtoN navigation managers taking senior roles in national administrations, linkages being made with a worldwide network of professionals, and VTS professionals becoming harbour masters, consultants, pilots, and much more. And through our generous donors, we're able to sponsor individuals from developing countries through training and education courses and connect them globally. It's a very rewarding part of IALA. Not only successful voyages and a sustainable planet, which is our motto, but connecting and engaging people with a remarkable commitment to navigation safety is a direct benefit. And myself, I was able to benefit personally from the career progression. Having left the sea, I went through the VTS training regime to become a harbour master in the UK, and now I'm very pleased to work at IALA. And we have many training activities available online. Again, keep an eye on our website or get in touch with us, and we're delighted to help. So finally, looking to the future. In closing, you may have heard about the planned change of status from IALA from a non-governmental organisation to an intergovernmental organisation. This is the key stage in IALA's history and will be positive for the mariner, giving IALA standards a boost in their international recognition and their international application to meet IALA's strategic goals. We'll become more integrated with the work of the IMO, who are predominantly looking after shipping standards, working closely with the IHO, a fellow intergovernmental organisation looking after charting and underwater standards, and now with IALA looking after the navigation safety infrastructure afloat, ashore, and in the sky. This completes a triangle of intergovernmental organisations that provide the framework for all areas of shipping. But the ethos of IALA will not change. It will still be a technical, member-driven organisation providing good quality, practical standards for global implementation. The new Convention on the International Organisation for Marine Aids to Navigation, or the Kuala Lumpur Convention, was concluded and signed by some 50 countries at a diplomatic conference in February 2020, thankfully just before the COVID-19 restrictions came into force. The convention will officially be signed in Paris in November, and then it's up to coastal states around the world to ratify it nationally. And once there are 30 ratifications or equivalents, IALA will transition from an NGO to an IGO. And don't worry, we'll still be known as IALA. We'll be keeping our acronym being familiar to everyone. So there we go. We have a wide network of services through publications, through capacity building, training and education, and they're for everyone, not just aids to navigation authorities, also for mariners and those using the services. So I'll conclude there and maybe take a small rest. It depends on the questions, but now we'll hear more from you, and Omar and Geraldine will be delighted to come in, as will I. But you may be a bit fed up of me now, so I'll let the others take the strain for a short time. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Kevin. That was fantastic. And while you have a sip of coffee, just say how exciting I find all of this. It's very easy when you're a mariner to sail by marks and lighthouses and not really think of the cutting edge of technology and innovation that goes into them. And this has been happening for hundreds and hundreds of years. I think it was just a few years ago that Trinity House here in the UK had their 500th anniversary. But some of the early building works of building lighthouses and cutting stone and putting them in windswept locations really tested the innovation of every day, and that hasn't changed. The work that we do with IALA, we get to see firsthand how everything from virtual aids to navigation, satellites, LEDs, all that innovation is just continuing. It's really exciting stuff. And I also like to thank you for using one of my favorite IALA words, which is conspicuity. Which, but for those of you who aren't familiar with conspicuity, it can be used in reference to things like visual and radar, and it's basically how well you get to see it. So great word, conspicuity. Right, Omar, I'm going to point some of these questions at you and let you shuffle them around the team as you see fit. Before we get into, and we're getting loads of questions, so thank you very much. A lot of them on modern technology, but let me just start with tradition. So Jill asks, with the advance in technology of aids to navigation, what is the best way to prepare our young officers? Should time in colleges be spent on old navigation techniques, such as sextant and chart work, or be replaced by more modern methods?
Yes, well, I think I'll take this one myself. Of course, the navigators have to look out the window. They have to continue to be able to use the traditional methods and aids just in case technology fails, But then again, we also need to prepare them for a future with a lot of digital opportunities, digital systems and concepts that will come. I mean, we have a generation of young people who, when they walk on the street, they're looking into their hands all the time at the iPhone. This is the generation that will become the navigators of the future. And they are very technology minded and ready to absorb new technology. So we have to do the best of both, I guess, and we shouldn't leave the visual aids behind too early, at least, the traditional visual aids to navigation.
Thanks, Omar. And I think that's probably always been the case with maritime and mariners. The old adage, by all available means. We've constantly adapted from using celestial navigation, learning how to use latitude and longitude, and right up to the most modern techniques. We got a lot of questions on the subject of virtual AtoNs, but Joe Quinn in particular says, what are they and how are they used?
Geraldine, would you like to take this one?
Well, that's a kind of more technical question, so I propose you answer it. I have some thoughts on virtual aids to navigation, but I think, yeah, this is more technical.
Okay, let me try to explain virtual aids. The concept, the AIS concept, has some messages that can be transmitted, indicating that they are coming from an aid to navigation. You could envisage a physical aid to navigation that transmits AIS messages, but you can also envisage that you transmit such a message or a similar message without any physical aid being there. and then the mariner will see a symbol in his ACTIS indicating that there's some sort of a signal, which is not physical but just virtual. And this can be quite useful actually, because it takes time to, for example, mark a wreck. And in the case of a new wreck, you can immediately mark it with virtual marks, maybe virtual cardinal marks, to indicate that there's a danger here, or isolated danger, if you will, and thereby report this instance to the the situation to the mariner much faster than with physical marks. And then once you have the physical marks in place, you can stop transmitting the virtual marks. So that's one aspect of it, at least.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting. Sorry, Geraldine, go ahead.
Yes, maybe to go a bit further on that subject, because I know many people have questions on how will the future look. Will we only have virtual aids to navigation, or will we keep our traditional aids to navigation and have a mixture of both? And also here people ask questions on that. And looking from SOLA's perspective, which Kevin already pointed out, we need to know that, and many of you are aware of this, that all chapters except chapter 5 apply only to ships engaged on international voyages larger than, 300, 500 tons, I don't know, and then some exceptions. But chapter 5 applies to all ships on all voyages. That means that these key regulations, including VTS and AtoN, apply to all ships, from a huge cruise liner to also a small wooden fishing vessel, probably operating in unsurveyed waters. And this means that the authorities responsible for safety of navigation, which is a coastal state obligations, are obliged to provide aids to navigation for that for all these users. And looking typically at virtual aids to navigation, it could be the case that a small island state in the Caribbean or in the Pacific will provide virtual AtoN, especially for that cruise liner entering a narrow channel, but they will still need to mark the dangers in their waters and maintain that very important lit beacon ashore to bring safely home that smaller users, small fishermen, and also pleasure crafts who cannot always benefit from virtual aids to navigation, as they do not have the equipment on board for that. And I think AtoN authorities should be very aware that they have international obligations to all users and not only a certain category of users. Thank you.
Kevin?
Yeah, I think Geraldine summed up a large amount of what I was going to say there. I think you have the debate about virtual versus physical aid to navigation, and predominantly now I think we're seeing benefits of the blend approach, where we have the physical AtoN in place supplemented with an AIS transponder. Yeah. But I think, yeah, as Geraldine said, we've got such a diversity in the world fleet and in users in general. And I think just turning my mind to e-navigation, it's something I wrestle with there as well. Is a similar topic to virtual navigation. You know, we have a lot of the digitization, but how can we bring that to life in the full diversity of the world's fleet? In terms of the diversity of vessel traffic out there, with the more advanced ships, well equipped, well connected, to the more basic ships, poorly equipped, maybe less well connected. So how can we have these solutions which can fit them all? We're in this kind of hybrid stage at the moment where we're working through them both. But I think there'll always, for the foreseeable future, be a place for physical aids to navigation. And through the excellent question about navigation, I think it's got to be a system-based approach. I like to look at it where we have all of the different elements working together to provide the full picture, with increasingly connected aid to navigation, but also with the aids to navigation being in place. And turning my mind to VTS, if we provide a navigational assistance for a ship in difficulty, when we train, I say the very first thing we should try to do is to, on the basis it's not foggy, is to get the mariner acquainted with what they can see out of the window, and physical aids and physical coastal traditional navigation to reorientate them.
Thanks, Kevin. You're absolutely correct. And in fact, working with IALA, I think it was about 10 years ago or something, we did a project together to identify whether physical aids to navigation were still needed. And we sent teams around the world talking to everybody from leisure, fishing, commercial, navies, and that work is published. But it's very interesting how much use a buoy can be. You know, even for a ship with all the electronics, you know, looking down and looking at the current, if you can imagine coming in through a narrow channel in a wide body of water, the comfort and that seeing that you're in the channel you get from the visual, regardless of all the electronics you might have saying that you're in that channel, seeing it visually is a great safety aspect. So I think we are for a long time going to look at this blended, I think you called it, or hybrid system. I think it's so important. And in fact, some of the smaller yachts, not only do they not rely probably so much on the buoys, they've probably got more technology than some of the ships do these days. So that's an interesting way to go. But Kevin, I'm going to drop this bomb on you because you mentioned it. What is e-navigation?
Yeah, it's a well, yeah, I could reel off some definitions, but I think I can just say what it is for me, and it might not necessarily be the view of IALA, so I give a disclaimer there from the start. But I think it's about the connectivity and connecting the ship with the shore through the more efficient exchange of information, be that any type of information, traffic information, weather information, hydrological. I think it's just that enhanced degree of connectivity, leveraging the technologies that we have now. And we've got lots and lots of capability out there now, huge amounts of technology and connectivity. And I think within IALA in the last few years, we've been doing it from the start, but there was a committee reorganization a couple of years ago, which really then helped focus the minds even more, in that we have some committees looking at the technical architecture, how we can make it all work, and some committees looking at exactly what are the operational benefits that we can bring to the mariner. And kind of one of my main missions I'd like to see is to find, a tangible piece of e-navigation that can be applicable to everybody. That full diversity of the fleet, from the most well-equipped, most modern vessel through to the most, the more basic end of the market. So that's really what I'd love to see. And I know our colleagues in Singapore, for instance, they're looking at excellent projects with respect to, well, can we do something, for instance, with Navtex, a very tangible thing, which is across the board. Can we do some kind of digitization and better connectivity work with that? Because it's a mandatory carriage, it's there, and hopefully it can be developed. But I think it's a more better connected ships, sharing information, but fundamentally to make the mariner's job easier for safety and efficiency, both of navigation and also of environmental efficiency. So Omar could probably give a much better answer, I'm sure.
No, I don't disagree. I agree with everything you say, actually, or said. Now, my point would be that e-navigation is, well, somebody said at some stage that e-navigation is everything. there's a German engineer that has modeled information flow of any kind into the navigation domain, including visual ASO navigation, for example, or signaling systems. But I think actually that how we see e-navigation has changed over time. So we started in the beginning 2000, what was it, 5 or something, talking about e-navigation, and it was all about safety of navigation and efficiency, but it was in our minds, it was all about something to do with safety of navigation and exchange of information. And as time went by, we understood that the main barrier for services of this kind, digital services, transferring information from a source to a consumer, the navigator, for example, the main barrier was actually connectivity. So nowadays, connectivity is what is being worked on very hard to ensure harmonized standards for connectivity globally, so that the ship owners can buy one set of equipment, and then they can talk to all the systems around the world without, or within the operational area of the vessel at least, without having to buy several systems. I remember going to Japan many years ago with my mobile phone, my Nokia mobile phone, which worked all over Europe. But when I came to Tokyo, it didn't work anymore because they didn't support the standards that I had in my telephone, mobile phone. So connectivity is very much on the agenda at the moment, and we are making progress with that. Concepts for making the information flow seamlessly and securely. Cybersecurity is another aspect today.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
From a capacity building point of view in the Academy, of course, we also hope that e-navigation will fill the gap of development, of the lack of development in many countries, and with e-navigation, with a good product that they can then speed up with the rest of the world, and that will be hopefully helpful to many developing countries as well.
Yeah, we talk about leaping into the e-navigation and skipping some of the intermediate steps because they are a bit in the dark ages, some of these developing states.
But I think it's fair to say that e-navigation will significantly improve the safety of navigation, but you will not walk into a shop and buy an e-navigator. It's not so, okay, that's great. Speaking of which, and I'm just harping back to a conversation we had with the hybrid system, we have a comment here from James that says that while rocks are real, please stick to the blended approach. So
yeah, well, it's not so much up to IALA, but it's up to our members, and we recommend them to do certain things. And we certainly are recommending that that there is a need for visual aids in these times of technology. We still need the visual aids, and you mentioned it before, the possibility of getting confirmation of your situational awareness, which stems from electronic devices. Getting the confirmation gives you actually the extra mental in your mental budget. You have the extra. I don't know the English word for this, but you have more more mental resources to do the actual navigational job. If you get the confirmation, the stress level reduces.
Now, I think on that note, Martin has written in, and he's asked a question about an e-Polaris. He says, what is the progress of the BinoNav, which is a type of e-Polaris? But let's stick with e-Polarises in general. So what is an e-Polaris, and what's happening with them?
Yeah. Well, to tell you the truth, I'm not an expert on that, and none of us are. But actually, you are, David. Could you tell us what? Could you enlighten us on that?
Okay. An e-Polaris is a concept where you take a normal polaris is where you take a bearing of something, and it could be a bearing of a lighthouse to give you a line of position, or it could even be a bearing of another vessel to help you assess risk of collision. The e-polaris is just a simple idea of how can we do this in the modern world, so that when you look at something and pull a trigger, you get a line on your ectus. We proposed this, what, 15 years ago, Omar? And there are a few out there on the market, but I'm astounded because I've been made to understand that they can be as cheap as a couple $1,000. I'm astounded why you would not have this technology on board, but hey, it has to do with compliance and what you do have to have. And along with that, it's also interesting to see some of the optical technologies that are coming in. You know, we always talk about the Mark I eyeball, but that's being improved with low light cameras, with infrared, with all sorts of other things to help improve the optical situation. So this takes me neatly, probably, to lots and lots and lots of questions. Here's one from Mark saying, how will IALA work with the autonomous vessels? And there are lots of questions on that.
Yeah, autonomous vessels are emerging. They're there physically. We can see them on the water, and we have been asking ourselves for some time now, actually, what does it require from IALA and the members of IALA? And I've been asking experts around the world, what type of new aids to navigation do you need for the autonomous vessel? And the answer is, well, one answer is, well, nothing extra. The autonomous vessel is autonomous and should make its way in the real world as it is. But I can see that there is a requirement for connectivity. You have to be able to, the ship needs to be able to access information, for example, and the other way around, to communicate with the environment, with other elements in its vicinity. So high reliable communication systems are one of the things that I think must develop, and positioning systems, resilient positioning for the autonomous vessel to ensure that it knows where it is exactly. So, but any other bits here, Kevin, Geraldine?
Well, let me start in on a similar question. We're getting a lot of questions about the resiliency of electronic navigation, of GNSS, over-reliance on GPS. Are there such things as multi-receivers? Do they solve the problem? We hear a lot in the news about jamming, spoofing, cybersecurity. What's happening in that sphere to make ships more resilient to single points of position?
Yeah. We don't have the multi-receiver yet, but it's being developed. Standards for it are being developed. We have IALA developed many years ago. We developed the radio beacon system, the DGPS, differential GPS system, which was designed to overcome positional errors, but also lack of reliability or outages of satellites. Many countries are today, many of our members are actually closing down their DGPS systems, believing that the current satellite-based systems are sufficient, and augmentation systems, space-based augmentation systems, are being deployed to warn the users of any abnormality in the systems. But I believe that we still need a combination of satellite-based systems and terrestrial systems that actually ensure that the mariner is warned if something goes wrong with the satellite systems. They are quite accurate today, but we are at the moment we are in the very low of the solar cycle, the 11-year solar cycle, and at the peak of the solar cycle we can get disruptions of satellite signals, which can give blackouts in communication in general and in positioning systems. So and there are other factors that you mentioned, spoofing and all that.
Thanks, Omar. I know it's a huge topic, and I do have my eye on the time. But just to another shameless plug, if anybody wants more information on that, we have a book on it. So, right. I do want to leave a little bit of time to talk about the Academy, because we're having a lot of questions pertaining to can private individuals take courses? How long do the courses last? What qualifications do the courses offer? And how does somebody get to be an aids to navigation manager?
The answer to that is yes, but Kevin has more details.
Thanks, Omar. Yes, so we run a wide variety of programs, and we like to make sure they're open to all. Some are run directly through us, and some are run through a network of accredited training organizations. So predominantly, if you're interested in vessel traffic services, those courses are provided through a global network of accredited training organizations, and there's a list of those on our website, but we're happy to answer any questions about that. Directly, the Academy is involved in the core aids to navigation management training. So aids to navigation manager, risk management training, master of marine aids to navigation management. And so in a nutshell, those courses are designed to equip you or participants with the knowledge and skill to be able to demonstrate compliance in your own country with the relevant SOLAS regulations. So whether you work for a competent authority, whether you work, for instance, a port authority that provides AtoN, whether you're a risk management professional, whether you're working in industry, consultancy, anyone involved in the marine aids to navigation or safety of navigation business. The courses vary in length. Some courses, for instance, a risk management course, residentially it's over 1 week or several weeks online, and for the marine aids to navigation manager course, residentially that lasts 4 weeks, but we offer that online to be executed over a period of a few months. And importantly, we're delivering this training now in many different languages. So we have English, French, Spanish is on the way, Portuguese should follow, Arabic will be following in the near future. So it's very accessible. And in terms of the entry requirements, there are some, but we do have some flexibility there, and we're more concerned with what comes out at the end in terms of a qualified person than what comes in at the beginning. And so we're looking for the aptitude to do it. The information's on our website. I'm just conscious of the time, and we're happy to chat to anyone who would like to consider training with us further, and happy to help.
Thanks very much, Kevin. And I have given the address for the IALA website in the chat box, so you can all make a note of that. We've come to the end of the time. I really apologize to everybody out there who's asked a question, because there are probably over 100 questions left to go and just not enough time. But it just goes to show you how exciting aids to navigation is. So, wow.
So before David,
yep.
Before you launch your next commercial, have a look at the lighthouse in the background. So clearly, David also thinks that aids to navigation is very important.
It's the only way I can get around my office without bumping into things.
Yeah.
Okay, Omar, Geraldine, Kevin, thank you ever so much. I'm sure people will get in touch with you, and I'll share some of these questions. Omar, you know me far too well to think that I have a commercial handy. We are a membership organization, so please join us, join the conversation, join with IALA. IALA are always looking for feedback from mariners, and we're happy to provide that to them. So on that, I would invite you to log off, and I will end the webinar system. So thank you again to the presenters, and of course to all the people in the audience.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you all.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Bye.